I'll be presenting today Larchmont's Digital Photography Archive. This is it's a project that started, I think at the very 2002, perhaps a little earlier than that, to put on the internet, make available and digitally preserve some of the pictures that were in the physical archive. And it started out rather slowly, but at this point, I said in the title to this that this was 10,000 pictures of Larchmont. We actually are approaching 17,000 pictures of Larchmont. And so I figured that if I was going to present to you each picture today, it would require that we spend 3 seconds on each picture. And so I'm not going to be able to present each picture, but I do want to introduce you to many of the collections, show you some of the best pictures that might tease you into going online and seeing them at home, and then also show you how you go online to see them at home. Now, I want to point out this particular gorgeous picture. This is an iconic picture of Larchmont's business district. If you don't recognize where it is, it's right up the street at the intersection of the Post Road and Larchmont. It's as if you're standing in Village Hall and you're looking catty corner across to Post Wine. And that's where Post Wine was. And you might recognize then the building next to it. If you think about it, some of the buildings, I always can recognize the upper levels of business districts, not the street levels, but you can kind of sense where you are. And we'll visit this picture again because it's there's some other aspects of this picture we'll be covering.
What's the date of it?
This would be around the turn of the century, about 1900.
I was thinking with color.
No. If you actually look, it says right down here,
I see, okay.
hand colored, and you can see it. Someone sort of gently rubbed it a little bit to get the color.
And please remind people to hold their questions and comments till the end.
Okay, we're going to try to not, anyway, we're trying to do the film, and I got to do it in 60 minutes, so we're trying to rush along. Okay, the mission of our project is to digitally preserve, index, and provide access to images related to Larchmont and its history. That's the goal. So we're trying to digitally preserve the images. The challenges that we're trying to address are, first of all, the loss of the images themselves. Pictures get lost, or the deterioration occurs, the quality of the picture deteriorates, and the scanning that we could get 10 years later is less good. Or there's loss of information about the image, and so we have a picture, but we don't understand what the picture is of or who's in it. And finally, the challenge of acquiring current collections that eventually become historical. People don't think a collection is important, because, well, we just did this, but eventually it becomes important. And so the other I would point out about the deterioration of the media or the image, an example is our cemeteries. We have a collection that's a picture of every single cemetery marker in every one of the Mamaroneck Township cemeteries. And those deteriorate. The quality of what I could take a picture of 10 years ago is much better than the quality of what I can take today. And so, to retain the information, we have to do something like this. Then there's the challenge of access. This is a picture of Lynn attempting to organize the pictures in the archive before our project. It was just, I'm joking, but I think it does illustrate the scale of the problem we would have if I said to you, well, here is a pile of 17,000 pictures, preserve them and try and make some sense of them, because that's what we're doing. Today, we get about 1,000 inquiries a month on the internet, and we'll be getting more as the size of the collection increases. To try to help the same number of people by having them only be able to come and physically come to our archive would create a traffic jam. We're trying to make our searches more efficient and more informative, and we're also trying to connect the collections so that when you're looking in one collection, you're able to see that there are other related pictures in another collection. I mean, I have, in doing this, I ran across we have a collection of the memorials, the war memorials, so that we have pictures of our war memorials and the names of the people. And in checking one out, a picture of a teacher in Mamaroneck High School came up from another collection. And it's the same name, and I'm at some point going to check whether that isn't the father of the person who died in the Vietnam War. And it's just another one of these connections that you can capture because the system connects the information in one collection to the other. And then we're also trying to keep up with evolving technologies. We just went through a complete update of all the software of the collection because it keeps changing and you keep trying to deal with hackers and security and the languages and the speed of the processors and so on and so forth. And so it is a challenge. A few things that the digital archive is not. First of all, we do not see the digital archive as competing with the physical archive or justifying any kind of a replacement or diminution of the role of the physical archive for access to primary assets and the best historical information. We're not trying to replace anything. We don't allow downloads of photographs. If there's a photograph that you want, you go to the organization that's sponsoring it and they will be able to provide it to you according to what other limitations they have. But we're not giving away the photographs because they're not ours to give away. We're not proposing or advocating or justifying disposal of anything. This isn't something like where a company will digitize its records so they can throw them out. We do not want to throw out anything because these pictures are valuable in and of themselves. Our ability to scan and analyze them will evolve, and so we're not advocating throwing anything away. We're also not trying to create virtual versions of things that are very important to have in reality. We have a virtual archive about our war memorials, but it's not intended at all to replace something as important and significant as a war memorial. Finally, the archive is a little stupid. It doesn't present a curated presentation. So it doesn't replace the opportunity for someone to gather together a bunch of pictures on a theme and put them together and really explain them and have a curated presentation that's educational. And all this really does is to provide you access with the images and give you, the ability to search efficiently. So there's much that we as the Historical Society need to do that's part of our mission, and this will help us do our mission. It'll reinforce our ability to do our mission, but it's not a version of doing our mission. It's just a tool for doing our mission and to provide you with access to something that's important. So, where's the archive? Well, at this point it's in two places. It's on two sites. There is the portal archive, images.larchmonthistory.org. This is intended to sort of introduce you to the archive. It provides you with instructions about it. It has descriptions of the collections. It has protocols for coding. It has, it's the background and support for it. And then there is larchmonthistory.org.photopost. That's the engine itself. That's the collection itself. And so they each link to each other, and they each have a role, but it's PhotoPost that is actually the application that's actually doing the pictures and has the pictures stored in a database on a server. So that's what the photo archive looks like. And in a minute we'll go to it. But that's what it looks like. There is this, in the middle is a list of the collections, and they're grouped by the organizations that sponsor them. On the side there is a search box, and then there is a kind of a summary of the instructions as to how to search the collections. And then up in the top you can click on the Historical Society homepage, or you can click on the archive documentation and instructions and get to that other site that has the sort of user-friendly descriptions of what the collections are, because this is rather a machine. It's rather businesslike. So let us just briefly go to the actual photo archive. Now let's hope everything's working. Now we're online and we're actually at the photo archive. And so something happened 3 weeks ago. We got an inquiry, as we do at the archive, from a professor at Bard College who was saying he was doing a study of the Collins family and wanted to know what we had on the Collins family. So what I did was to stick Collins in that little box there and click on Go. And bingo, we had 32 results. And I think the 32 results are sort of illustrative of the kinds of information that's in the archive. The first two, I think you can see my little pointer here, so I'll use it. Here's one. In the second paragraph, they're talking about Edward Knight Collins. So this is one of our house tour programs that actually is discussing the Collins family. You know, you have to read it and figure out whether it's what you want to know. But then there's another one that's different house that's got a connection to the Collins family. Then here, this is from the Gazette collection. This is actually the Collins movers. So it's contemporary. You know, it's you know, that's the Collins family too. But it's kind of rocketing us to the present. Then we have Gail Collins of the New York Times. Well, Google's wrong sometimes too. This is other Collinses. I don't think she's a relative, and her book. Now, we have 3 results from Soldiers of the Great War. I'll go into that in a minute. But this is actually because it's Collins Center, New York. And so these are soldiers in World War II that died in World War I from Collins Center, New York. And that's because we host for the whole state this archive. And so it's on our collection. Then the next one is really, but it's got nothing to do with the Collins family. This one is fascinating. Right there in the top, you see it says William Collins, 1923. This is in the Fire History Committee's collection. And it's an actual badge of one of the, he was an engineer. And so, you know, we got it. We found it. It's in our collection. We physically have custody of it. Then we go on. And yeah, someone was something about the Collins was in the 1901 Larchmont Times. And so that's another, that's on the line. Then this is very interesting. This is a 1922 cartoon. This is another collection. This is a collection of business district cartoons. And if you look over, sort of, I'll make my little pointer here. Right there, see right here, it's the real estate Collins. They were a real estate agency, the Collins family, in 22. And this is a cartoon from 1922. I'll see if I think I can make it bigger by clicking on View Larger Image. Yes, this is a cartoon when they were building Village Hall. And we learned when we put the elevator, I was on the village board, when we put an elevator into Village Hall in 1998, that it's built on rock. And in order to make the hole for the elevator, we had to get in there. Well, in order to build Village Hall, they had to dynamite the site. And so this is a cartoon about what happened in the business district in 1922 when they had to dynamite the site. And Fallaci Brothers was the contractor. And this guy, Van Zelm, made a cartoon of the village. He has another one that is the cartoon of engine 1 running out of gas on the way to the fire. Because people thought having a motored fire, you know, that the horse was more reliable, the horse more likely to get there than a truck. But anyway, we can keep going now. The next is from our collection. The fire department uses this. The Fire History Committee uses the site to maintain lists of members of the fire department. People email the fire department and they email the Historical Society and say, I think my great uncle was a member of the fire department. And, you know, how would we know? Well, so what we've done is we put onto the digital archive every single document that we have that lists the names of the people who are in the fire department. So if you're in the fire department, you know, eventually we'll have your name in here. We're some decades we're still missing. But we've gotten, this was from 1952, these, and we've got now one from 1938. We're going to be putting that one in. And so we'll be able to tell people who was a member of the fire department, and we'll be able to show them why. Now, let's keep going here. Now, these, I think, come from Judy Doolin Spike's collection. She's here somewhere. But this begins to be material about the Collinses' shipping. And so we've got the Collins ship, we've got the Collins fleet, you know, we've got, these are pictures and then there's a picture here's Edward Knight Collins himself, and so forth. And we even have a description that was done in 1970 when the Manor House was being sold, and someone described there in sort of a real estate flyer what the story was. We know that not everything that's posted on the photo archive is true, but it's an effort to explain. So I can keep going, but the point is that just in answering this question for this person, the archive was able to quickly pick up lots and lots of information that we had about an important family. And if you try to imagine the amount of work it would take a volunteer to first go over to this book and look through, and then try to go over to that newspaper, and then remember it, you know, especially because our volunteers serve for a while and then someone else comes in and they don't have the institutional memory. This is a great tool for us to be able to do our job more effectively and more efficiently with volunteers that, you know, that only have so much time. So we'll go back to our slide.
Do you have any census data in this archive?
Let's hold our questions till the end, please.
But I will answer the questions later.
Sorry.
Okay. So anyway, now what are the collections? Well, we have 6 organizations. We started out just doing this by ourselves, the Historical Society, but we realized that the cost of doing this with additional organizations was 0. In other words, having more organizations be served by this, we had our fixed cost, and we could serve a lot of organizations and it wouldn't cost more, and that it would enhance our own collection because we then could search against their collections too. So we have the Larchmont Historical Society's collection, we have the Larchmont Library upstairs joined in and has authorized us to scan and include their photograph collection. The Mamaroneck Library then joined in and authorized us to scan their materials. Larchmont Manor Park Society has provided us some photos. The Fire History Committee of the fire department has, all the fire companies gave us all of their notebooks of pictures, and we have the chiefs, anyway, we'll get into that. And then finally, a major gift was from Judy Silberstein and Paula Eisenberg, the entire photographic collection of the Larchmont Gazette. Now this is a decade of photographs, including the ones that were published as well as the ones that didn't get published. And so it's a very large collection, which gives us a very intensive and in-depth picture of Larchmont during one period. Now someone could say, well, that's not history yet. And I said, well, you know, 2002 was quite a while ago, and it's going to become more and more history as time goes by. So let's go through the collections, and then in the process of that, now this is one, the Larchmont Historical Society has what we call the general collection, and this is the stuff that they have at the archive. And they have lots of pictures of various kinds in various ways at the archive. This is one of my favorites because we're looking over the bridge where the railroad is, and these pictures right over here, these buildings here aren't here anymore because they were the stores that were lost when the railroad, when the thruway came through. And so before the thruway, those were there. After the thruway, they weren't. And so you sort of see a part of Larchmont that isn't there anymore. And the general collection has so many things like that. It has, for example, an architect's drawing of St. John's Church when it was being proposed to be built. Then it has a picture of St. John's Church being built. I mean, it's really fascinating. Now, one of my favorite pictures, where is this? No. No, this is the reservoir. This is the reservoir when it was being created. It had to be dug. Yes, and so this is the actual digging of the reservoir. And so that's in the collection. And we've actually got a set of pictures that's just a little photo essay about making the reservoir. And so, I mean, it's really, it's amazing the material that exists, and it's so much fun to spend some time looking at it. You just can't believe what you're seeing. Now, we have the next set of collections. Judy Doolan Spikes is here, is the Judy Doolan Spikes collection, and I picked out, this is a picture of Manor Beach. It's at the center of it is the old Horseshoe Harbor, and you can see it surrounded by boats and so forth. But Judy's collection is really a cluster of collections that have a variety of purposes, and they're just an extensive collection that is, you know, she's describing the history of Larchmont, and so she's collected images that tell the story, and she's done various other things. But what's wonderful is that she's spent some time herself online to personally annotate some of the pictures. Because, you know, the one thing I know is that the person who knows a lot about Larchmont history is Judy Doolan Spikes. And for her to explain a picture is the best explanation we'll ever have. And, you know, I want to invite her to sit down and annotate a few more of these pictures. And I'm going to be nominating some, because it's some I'd really like you to, and I'd like you to be sure I did it right, because some of them I'm not always sure. Now, here, Sidney Astle was a village trustee who collected various kinds of things. Now, where is this? No. This is Flint Park. This is Flint Park. This is the sewage plant at Flint Park. There was a sewage plant at Flint Park, and in order that it didn't look like a sewage plant, it was contrived to look like a windmill. You know, we were making grain and various kinds of things at Flint Park. I think this was actually at the instigation of someone who lived on the other side of the water that's the tidal pool, and didn't like the idea of looking at a lagoon and wanted it made up as something else. We actually have in the Historical Society collection an engineering magazine advertisement that's explaining how they can disguise the appearance of sewage treatment plants. And they were showing two of them, but their favorite was the fact that they could disguise a sewage treatment plant and make it look like a windmill. And so that was Flint Park. And actually, you know, we now have the ORF, the outfall retention facility that's back there. Well, in the back of Flint Park, there's a gigantic water tank under the ground with a little building above it, and it's really a sort of a recurring theme back there, that we have these awesome structures that we need, but we disguise them as humble little rural facilities. Now this is the Business District cartoon collection. This happens to be the cartoon I was mentioning, the one about Engine 1 running out of gas on the way to the fire. Engine 1 is up here, and as you can see, they're throwing the stuff out of the building, and you've got the fire, one of the firemen trying to get gasoline to put in the truck, and so forth. This is This was another one I showed when we did the Prohibition. We had one where the bootleggers come to Larchmont. It was the same series, and it showed the police chief, the police fighting with the bootleggers, and people dropping flower pots on the police, and scooping up the liquor out of the manholes, and so forth. Now we have the Thompson Flint collection, and it's a wonderful collection of old pictures, and I know less about that, and that's one of the ones I want to ask Judy about, to beef up our description of why it is what it is. Now this is one of my favorites. This is the former fire chief, former police chief, not the most recent Bill Keresy, but his father, who gathered a collection of pictures of car crashes in Larchmont. And so these are the great car crashes of Larchmont. And we have car crashes, old and new. Cars upside down on their side. This one happens to be, it went off the ledge at Manor Park and is practically gone into the water off the wall at Manor Park. And so, but he has a wonderful collection of pictures of I mean, in the course of getting his car wrecks, he got a series of other interesting shots of things, and it's a very interesting collection. Now, Horseshoe Harbor gave the Historical Society their collection of pictures. And what's very interesting about that collection is it's got lots of people. And we don't have a clue who it was who was taking the second hot dog at the buffet. But, you know, but they have lots of pictures of events and lots of pictures of sailing events and whatever. And I'd love to find someone from Horseshoe Harbor who might know someone who might know someone who might attach some names to some of the people before they're lost to history. But it would be a neat thing. But this was, I thought, a particularly lovely picture that they have. Now, the cemeteries. This is just one, but we have taken a photograph of every single gravestone in every single cemetery in Mamaroneck Township. So it includes the one by the high school, it includes the one by St. John Paul, it includes the one up by the entrance to I-95 on Mamaroneck Avenue. And in the names, it includes the Quaker, and it has the name in the typed out so that it's in the database, so that if you search on the name, you'll get it. And we've actually gotten some hits from the Delancey family because they discovered that someone whose grave they couldn't figure out where the person was buried, they discovered that the person was buried at the Delancey family cemetery on Palmer, and they discovered it by looking at our archive. It just came up. Now, the Levy collection. This is a new collection. I mentioned it before, and I'm repeating once again the slide that I showed at the beginning. If you've ever wondered why, if you were on eBay and you saw an interesting postcard of Larchmont and you bid on it, you never won?
Oh yeah.
The reason was that you were bidding against Jim Levy, and when Jim collects things, he collects them with gusto. And so his collection of postcards, he has donated to the Historical Society. And this is an extraordinary asset. And we're only beginning to tap this. We have 3 of his notebooks up at this point. We will be doing more of them. But it's amazing, and I'll show you one thing that will show you, it's, you know, some collections are like one of each animal on the ark. He's got like so many different postcards of different things that you get to learn things. So watch. See the tree. This is a very special, this is an iconic image, but it's very special because it has the tree. And this was a tree that was well known to people who went, you know, when they went through Larchmont, you know, they would be told, well, there's the drugstore with the big tree. It was a famous tree. People loved the tree as they were driving up the post road. Now, here's another scene, another postcard, and as you can see, it's either winter time, and it may be, but it might be looking a little bit peaked. But anyway, this is another shot of the same tree. Now, hold your breath. This is another shot of the tree. Now here they have a postcard. It's entitled Removing the Old Landmark, Larchmont, New York. And this is the actual cutting down of the lovely old tree. And so that's, you know, he's got, it's you know, that's the depth of his collection, is that you're not just seeing a picture of a building, but you're seeing the life of a community reflected in these pictures. And you see the workers cutting it all down, and I'm sure people were very sad. And then the next one, you go to a later picture, and there's no tree. And so, you know, you have a collection that's got that kind of depth of, he's got 23 separate postcards of the Bevan. You know, he's got so many pictures. You just see so much that you wouldn't see in just seeing it once. Now this is also interesting. Over here, you're seeing Proctor's, which is the theater. They're advertising the Proctor's Theater in New Rochelle. And, you know, but you can, you know, we're looking down the Post Road from approximately from Village Hall. Now the Fordyce family collection is a wonderful collection. It has pictures from 1893 to 1911, including personal photos of the family as well as pictures of the business district and life in Larchmont. So it's a wonderful collection of pictures that gives us another. This picture here is a picture of the Horseshoe Harbor Yacht Club with a sailboat brought up. You know, often you bring the sailboat in at high tide, let the tide come down, clean off the bottom, let the tide come back up and take it back out. And then beyond it is the Manor Beach bathhouse when it still had a roof, you know, which the persons that lived behind it didn't really like. They preferred having it to have a flat roof so that they would have a better view. That's what that picture is. Now here is something different that we have in the archive. We have the June Freeman Allen costume collection. This contains about 100 items of clothing dating from 1860 to 1940, worn by several generations of a family that lived at 46 Magnolia Avenue from 1891 to 1996. And this is a lovely collection of clothing that's been carefully preserved. And, you know, it's a unique collection and something we're proud to have. And Judy Doolin Spikes and I one time went over and did this set of pictures to document in the digital archive the physical objects that we had. This was a way of, you know, one of the things we're expected to do as a historical society is to have an inventory. And this is one of the functions of this digital archive, is that it can serve as the source documentation of an inventory. It demonstrates what it is that we have. Now, Larchmont Times 1901-1902, we got this entire newspaper collection for 2 years, and we scanned it all. And then we posted it so that you can read all of the pages of it. And if you're looking for something to do sometime, just read the newspaper. I was going to suggest one year that all we do is to read the newspaper each week. That is the newspaper for that week, and sort of live a year of Larchmont and sort of understand what's going on. But you'll see the headlines here. This one over here is that we want the Board of Education impeached. We want the Vigilance Committee determined to oust Principal Preston and the board. Now later on, there is a scandal at Chatsworth School because the principal spanked a child. And there was a whole range of opinions about whether this was a good thing to do or a bad thing to do. There was finally a hearing, and the entire transcript of the hearing is in the newspaper. So you can read exactly what they were saying about this. But the other article in the middle, the headline, you can't quite see it. It says, Mamaroneck graduates, are they too ignorant to read the Declaration of Independence? There's much in the newspaper that's really interesting. Actually, in this very issue, they announce the opening ball of the engine company, which they just created the engine company of the fire department, and they're going to have a ball, and they describe the menu and they describe the dance card, all the different dances that are going to be done at the ball, and we are going to be reenacting the engine company ball next fall as part of the Larchmont 125, and so you're all welcome, but you're going to have to learn the dances. Now, this one this is political campaign literature in Larchmont from the 1960s to the 1990s. It includes some of my campaign brochures, in which I was shamelessly touting my qualifications. But anyway, it's really interesting. You can see all the different arguments that people would make and what they contended about people and so on, but it's just a collection of the campaign literature. Here, this is the Soldiers of the Great War. This is an interesting, it's an interesting example because here, this is what the website looks like, what I've got projected up here, but the search function inside the website actually is connected to our archive. And this document was created after World War I by the War Department, and it was a picture book by state of all of the soldiers who died in World War I that they could get a picture of, which means that it's sort of a goofy collection. It was not indexed, so you couldn't, in order to find out whether anybody from your community was in it, you had to look at all of them and see. But in any case, we got the document, we scanned the document, we indexed the document, and we put it up. We did it in part because we were looking for pictures of our World War I people. There were none of our people in this. But once we'd done it, we discovered that very few states had this online, and we decided that it was a good thing for the Historical Society to do, to be New York's resource for this, and we are. We're the official resource for people to check to see. And so in the next one, this person down here, for example, happens to be, this man here, happens to be from New Rochelle. And so that's his picture. And this would be the only way they'd find it in this document. It's not indexed. It's a huge document. It's, you know, it's so I'm pleased with our association that we can, our society, that we can do a service like this out of respect to the people who died and also a service to the people of our state. This is Philip Severin's sketches. We have the sketches at the Historical Society, but we decided to scan them and put them up so you can see what they're like. But they are in the archive. But you know, we did a presentation of them once. But for you to be able to see them, this is a way for you to be able to do it. Now, the streetscape photos. This is what we wanted. We started with the business district. We wanted to take pictures of the business district over time and to code them so that you can see the business over time. So we started with a collection that the Gazette had done to make they were making a directory of the business district, and they wanted to know what businesses were where. And it was easy to do it with pictures. But we then just put the pictures up and scanned them. Then we did it again in 2012 as the Historical Society. Then we added the assessor record. So the picture over here, this is an assessor's record of what we know as Carlin's Cove. Then it was Willie's Seafood. And we also do address coding in other collections, and this is something to know. Here's our code, because there's probably a picture of your house in this collection. The code is the street name plus the street number in a 3-digit format. So mine, I'm 149 Beach, so my code is Beach 149. 7 Prospect Avenue wouldn't be Prospect 7, it would be Prospect 007. And the Post Road and Palmer have 4-digit codes. So let's go to the collection and let's give it a try. I'm going to put in BPR 2112. This happens to be Post Wine. And so we have 27 results. Okay, so these are 27 pictures of the same place in the business district, including, these are the 2012 pictures of Post Wine that the Historical Society took. Then we have pictures from the Levy collection. Then we come down here and we have pictures. This is from the assessor's record. You know, and then this is there are some more. This is from Judy Doolin Spikes. Then this is from the library's collection. Anyway, I won't go through all of them, but there's lots and lots of pictures of the same place. But the key is the code. And so if you know the code, you just use your street name and the 3-digit version of your house number, stick it in and you'll see your house. I mean, that's really something. So, keep it going. Got to catch up here. Where were we? Here we are. We're the host. Here we go. From the current slide, here we go. So now, keeping going, and I have to speed up. I've got 10 minutes here. The Larchmont Public Library has a general picture collection, and it's got Larchmont the Beautiful. This was a publication of wealthy people in their gorgeous homes in 1922. And so this is Mr. Proctor. Then the Herb Roth collection, which is a wonderful collection of photographs from 41 to 43. And so here you're looking down Palmer Avenue when there was a street light in the middle of the street. Then they have a collection of charts and maps. And this is the Mamaroneck Public Library photo collection, which is a gorgeous collection of pictures of Mamaroneck that's on the Mamaroneck Library's website. This is special. These are pictures from the manor, the beach house. Now, in the hurricane a couple of years ago, we almost lost the beach house. We were about 6 inches away from having some very severe loss there. These are the pictures inside, and if you go inside now and look at this picture, you can't see that. It's faded. You know, so this is an example where we're preserving something, and we've scanned all of those pictures, and we put where they had the names of people on the picture or on the back or whatever, we put that in. And so this I consider to be really very special, because these pictures are not long for this world. Then we've got some other pictures. I mean, there's a whole set of pictures of high and low tide at Manor Beach. Then the Historical Fire Company, you see an old and a new picture of Engine 1. We have the Chief's photos. The Chief's photos, what are they going to take photos of? It's the big fire. So we have a keyword called working fire. If you click, if you insert the term working fire, all one word, you'll see an insurance agency nightmare. It's like the collisions. So you're going to see the fires and the collisions. Then fire department photos, just life in the fire department, different years. This was we have an inventory of assets in the fire department. This is a photo album. This is actually scans from a film. That's a 1938 film, and you can see that's the manor, that's the swimming area. And then here is the Larchmont Gazette's 2002 streetscape photos. Now you can see Larchmont store is not here anymore. Blockbuster Video. There's lots of these where we're address coding. You can see a lot of change over the years in who's in the stores. Then Larchmont Gazette gave us the entire collection of their pictures. And what is special about these is that every one of these pictures was published. And so you've got a story. And so you can use the Gazette search engine, or you can use Google. Just search on the name of the file and you can see what the story was. Now, one of my favorites was this one that says insurance. It's the car crash that Bill Kersey didn't get, but I would add to his collection. It's the guy that crashed his car into the insurance agency. It was like drive-by service, you know.
The one in the upper left is her mother, I think. On skis.
All right. And so, anyway, what's the future? And we're certainly looking for new collections. If you have an idea of a collection, we would be very interested. We'd love to find the Daily Times pictures. They've got an archive somewhere, and we don't know what happened to it. We're looking into collections of political leaders, collections of community organizations, and if there are additional participating organizations, this would also be good. We also could use volunteers who would simply adopt a collection. And you don't have to make the hard calls. You know, if we don't know, we don't want to say. But some of it is not a hard call. You know, you can describe the place. You can, sometimes we know the time. We just didn't have it in that particular picture. It's also possible for us to turn on a feature that allows everybody to comment on the pictures right in the application. We're not sure how we would manage that, but it would be fun to have everybody be able to chat about the pictures. Because that's my uncle. And finally, we're trying to keep up with improved technologies while not losing the information that we have, including connecting with other searchable databases, working with our website. We'd love to be able to have the pictures instantly available to include in the website. For when someone's writing a historical article on the website and they're looking for a picture, they don't have to take this down and then put it back. They just flip it in. So, once again, the way you get to it, first of all, you can get to it by just going to the Historical Society, larchmonthistory.org. It's one of the collections. Click on it. You're going to get the first one, the images.larchmonthistory.org, which is sort of the portal site. And then you click on the actual site, and you're there, and put in whatever you want. It's not hard to use. Just remember your address.
I can't find the search thing.
Well, we'll work on that. So anyway, thank you very, very much, and.